The widow who gave the world champagne, a story of sparkle and strength. Some stories aren't poured from a bottle, they rise like bubbles, carrying history, heartbreak, and hope. Tonight, we go back over 200 years, to the vineyards of France, where a young widow didn't just grieve her loss, she revolutionized the way we celebrate. This is the story of Barbe-Nicole Clicquot, better known as La Veuve, the widow, the woman who gave the world champagne. France. The year is 1805. The world is still reeling from revolutions, and Europe is dancing on the edge of war. But in the quiet town of Reims, nestled between gentle hills and vines, a personal tragedy unfolds. A young woman, just 27, stands by her husband's grave. Her name, Barbe-Nicole Ponsardin. Her heart, broken. Her husband, François Clicquot, had run a small wine business. He dreamed of turning their humble operation into something grand, perhaps even legendary. But dreams don't always last. And neither did François. He died suddenly, leaving her with a daughter, a business, and a world full of men who thought she should step aside. But she didn't. In an age where women weren't allowed to run businesses, Barbe-Nicole did something almost unthinkable. She approached her father-in-law and said, "Let me run the wine house. I want to continue what François started." He hesitated. But something in her eyes told him she wasn't asking. She was already moving forward. With fire in her soul and grief still fresh in her chest, she stepped into cellars, boardrooms, and vineyards. People whispered, "A widow in charge? She'll ruin the name." But what they didn't know is that her grief had already burned her fear away. Champagne in those days was tricky. It was sparkling, yes, but often cloudy, with dead yeast floating in the bottle. It was a celebration drink, but not elegant. Not perfect. And Barbe-Nicole wanted perfection. She asked questions no one else was asking. Why was the wine cloudy? How could the sediment be removed without losing the sparkle? She began experimenting again and again. Failed batches. Exploding bottles. Sleepless nights. And then, an idea. She took an old wooden table, drilled holes into it at an angle, placed the bottles upside down. Each day, she rotated them, just a little, so the sediment would settle in the neck of the bottle. Then, with a single, skilled twist, the neck was frozen, opened, and the cloudy yeast popped out. The wine remained clear, sparkling, brilliant. This method would later be called riddling. She invented it. Quietly. In the shadows of loss. And it changed the champagne industry forever. But innovation alone wasn't enough. The Napoleonic Wars were raging. Markets were collapsing. Her wine business was on the brink. Barbe-Nicole took another daring step. While others held back, she smuggled her best champagne through war zones to Russia. When peace finally returned, her wine was already there. And Russia fell in love. Soon, aristocrats, poets, and tsars were raising glasses of Veuve Clicquot. It wasn't just wine. It was liquid gold. A symbol of victory, elegance, and rebellion. Barbe-Nicole Clicquot ran the champagne house for over 60 years. She mentored other women. She wrote letters, still preserved today, filled with wisdom, wit, and wine philosophy. She never remarried. She wore her widow's black till the end. But in every bottle that bore her name, there was no darkness. Only light. Bubbles. Joy. So the next time you hold a glass of champagne, remember, it began in a widow's hands. Not in a celebration, but in sorrow. And that grief, with patience and fire, was turned into something that made the world sparkle. This was heritage in every sip. If you felt something today, consider subscribing. Because in our next story, another legend is waiting to be uncorked.